Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today I have with us, he's the lead actor. He's playing Sherlock Holmes in the upcoming movie Sherlock Holmes, Mayor of the Night. I have with us Les Bess. Les, welcome to the Horror Room.
Well, thank you so much, Travis. It is a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate you having me on. It's an honor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, you are playing Sherlock Holmes in this new film. Tell us a little bit about your role.
So this is not going to be the standard Sherlock Holmes movie where Sherlock is, for the most part, when you think of Sherlock Holmes, he's in control, he's British with a stiff upper lip, he's brilliant, he observes everything and knows everything that's going on around him. The writer, C.J. Goodwin, had kind of an interesting concept where he said, what happens to a guy who throughout his life is shooting up a 7% solution of cocaine? You're aware of that, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And smokes opium, loves his alcohol, and plus is inundated with death, weird deaths, violence, and fails from time to time in some of his cases. Doesn't always get the man, doesn't save everyone who he tries to save. What happens to him as he gets older? And so something kicks him over the edge. I don't want to tell you now what happens, but he kind of goes over the edge as a result of all in his life, and he's basically withering away. He's a doddering old man who has a difficult time putting thoughts together, and this is a time when he should be able to use all of his skills to solve one final case, and he doesn't have it left. We see him struggling with life. He's kind of like a zombie, goes through his life, wakes up, eats, shoots up when he needs it, smokes his opium whenever the daydreams or his illusions get too strong for him, goes back to sleep, gets back up. He's just existing. He's not living. And so it's kind of a difficult view of Sherlock Holmes, but there is some redemption in it. So want to let you know that it's not all bad.
Well, and what I love about this story when I first heard about it is, it's real. I mean, because, Sherlock Holmes, I'm a big Sherlock Holmes fan. He is a perfectionist, and I'm kind of a perfectionist myself in some ways.
Right.
And that pressure puts a lot of strain. It puts a lot of stress, and over a while, over time, it definitely takes a toll out on you, And to get to see this, this detective who is such a perfectionist at his old age, and see what time and the stress has done to him, it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that. It intrigued me, and we actually in this story we actually see the beginnings of Conan Doyle. Conan Doyle is actually in this movie, and the concept of Sherlock Holmes is introduced to him with an encouragement to begin writing the Sherlock Holmes movies. So, in essence, we're seeing the real Sherlock Holmes in some areas of his earlier life and some of the things that he did in his earlier life, but also in this time whenever he has been utterly gutted and destroyed. I think you're right. I think when someone has that kind of intellect, has that kind of responsibility on them, it takes a huge toll. I mean, we look at our soldiers, we look at our first responders. It is amazing the work that they do. And with all of the loss that they see, it just has to be devastating.
And majority of people who watch my show on a regular basis, my day job, I'm a mortician. So
are you really?
Yes. So I get to see and deal with the stress of that side, but I mean of death, grief, and and it's a job that most people don't know, that like you almost
Yeah.
have to be perfect. You have to be perfect. There is no bad customer service. There's no bad. You have to be absolute perfect, and that pressure is insane.
Yeah, I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it. And you see the pain. In some cases, it's a sweet thing with family saying goodbye to an old relative who's lived a good life. And in some cases, you see a family who's saying goodbye to a life that's been cut short, or cut short under horrific circumstances. And having to deal with that, I can imagine that would take a toll on you, Travis. That would be so hard.
It is, and I'm 41, and I'm seeing more and more people my age dying, and I'm like, oh my goodness, and it makes me deal with my own mortality as well. I'm like, oh boy, like, I'm not invisible.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, and I'm 66, so my father died at 70, and my mother died when she was 64, 65. So I'm right in that time frame. I have to be ready to go. That's the way I see it. I have to have my affairs in order and be ready to go.
That's right. Now, Ken. So when you got this script and you were in this role, I mean, you're dealing with a troubled, individual who has a lot of scars on him. How did you get into the mindset for this role?
Yeah, I think the one thing that I had to do, I think it is incumbent upon actors to, first of all, be so familiar with the script that they know what all pieces that they don't have a background for. They've got to relate to every single step. They have to be so specific. And so, luckily, and I know this is not exactly what you're asking, but I do want to say CJ and I, the writer-director, have a really good relationship. And as I'm reading the script, if there's something that's referenced that I'm not quite sure of, or I want to get a clear understanding of where he's seeing this coming from, I'll sit down and talk to him about it. When I am referencing something or talking about something, the camera is right there. So it's going to see if I'm talking about something that isn't inside of me. I've got an inner life that has to be going, and I have to be talking about things that are happening. So I have to find experiences, relationships, things that have happened in my life that I can use to relate. And if I can't find anything that's going on, sometimes you have to use techniques. I like Meisner. That's one of the acting gurus from the past. He talked about daydreams. What was it? Oh heck! Kind of like living daydreams, where you come up with a scenario where you're able to create the kind of response that you need, and you create it in a very specific way. And then whenever the situation is called upon, you're there in the moment. And so that's what it is. It is hours of work, learning the script, becoming familiar, and getting very specific.
Because I've only acted one time in a movie, and that was recently.
Oh, really?
And yes, Blood and Breakfast, coming out August 27th.
August 27th. Let me write that. You
Yes.
said Blood and Breakfast?
Blood and Breakfast. They're doing the screening August 27th. I think it's going to be released on streaming services in October. But Blood and Breakfast,
Okay.
definitely. One of the
Excellent.
things, yes, and one of the things for me was, it wasn't necessarily the script. I only had a couple lines, but it was the body language. I tried to get myself into okay, I have a script. This is the scenario. What is this person doing? And reading off of the body language. And well, how would this character, Paul, act? How would I act in this situation? And
Right.
and it's kind of hard. And it's kind of hard sometimes because, like, I'm like, well, damn, I wouldn't be doing this in real life. So like, so that was like the hardest part for me was like, this is something I would not do.
Yeah.
But now but I have to, but this character, this is something stupid they would do. So like, I have to, it is kind of hard to do separate what how your brain would think compared to the character.
Right. Right. No, I think that's a really good point. And if sometimes what you relate to doesn't have anything to do with necessarily what is being done at the movie. You just have to, what being done in the scene. You just have to be able to relate to it. What was the guy? Do you remember the movie Princess Bride?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And what is the actor's name? He was a Broadway actor, and then he was one of the swordsmen. He was the guy that said, "Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die." You remember that guy?
You're talking about. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So in the scene where he finally tracks down the six-fingered man, and if anybody has seen the movie, turn it off or has not seen the movie. I'm going to spoil it for you. It's been on there for 30 years, so hopefully I don't ruin it for anybody. But he catches the guy, and the guy's offering him money. He's offering him all of these things, wealth, money, if he'll let him live. And he says, anything you want. And he says, I want my father back, you son of a bitch, and kills. That actor was saying that for that particular scene, his father had died. His father had died of cancer. And so at that moment, that guy he was sword fighting became cancer. And he was saying that to him. I mean, it's a comedy. It's lighthearted. But when you're acting, you take it seriously. You feel it deeply. You're not just acting like, you're angry. Yes. He actually had hate when he said that for that cancer that had killed his father. And I think that's a good story that talks about how specific you want to be in scenes.
Now, Les, what got you into acting?
I was acting. Grew up in church, and I don't know. Every time there was a Christmas program, I was probably 5 years old, and they got me up. You know what? Let me step back just a little bit further. We would have family reunions every summer, and part of the family reunion at the end, the kids would get up, or even the adults if they wanted to, and they would perform something. It may have been something patriotic. I mean, we're talking the early '60s. It may have been singing a song, doing the Pledge of Allegiance. Whatever they were doing, whatever they were into, and so I got comfortable in front of an audience. And so whenever they gave me a poem to learn and recite for a program, I was ready to go. And I can tell you, I still remember that poem, or most of it, today. I mean, that was 60 years ago.
Wow.
And then in school, every once in a while, they would be doing some kind of a program, and I would get involved. So I was very comfortable with it. I didn't actually ever do a play in front of an audience until my junior year in high school. And then I was captivated, and you couldn't keep me out of it. And so from then until now, in some form or another, I was doing mostly stage until about the last 12 or 13 years. And then it went to film.
Now, you've been doing this for a long time. And the industry has changed in so many ways, especially the indie industry, where, like, a lot of filmmakers who normally wouldn't be able to make a film, they're able to make films now because of the prices and the options, the streaming services, how to get your movies out, distribution.
Yep.
When it comes to you, somebody who's been doing this for a long time, do you think the streaming services are going to continue being the way to go?
I think the streaming services right now, are a way to get your name out there. I will tell you, CJ's got a movie on, the movie we did before this was called Eyes of a Roman. and he finished that a couple of years ago, and it got on YouTube Stash, which is a specific channel on YouTube. And Eyes of a Roman has gotten over 500,000 views. I think it just hit 510,000 today. So it's getting a lot of notice. He's getting a name, but he's not making a ton of money. And that is one of the difficult things. How do you parlay, the streaming services to be able to fund a project? Is there going to be any money in that, or are you just funding it, what CJ is thinking of doing, and I don't know if this is going to happen, but there is a lot less, fewer movies are coming into theaters these days. They're just not being made. There aren't that many studio movies being made, and movie theaters are looking for movies, things to show, and CJ plans on taking Sherlock Holmes Mayor of the Night on the road. He's going to be contacting theaters, and he's going to send them some info as far as posters, as far as trailers, and trying to drum up some interest, and then go to a theater and show our movie, come up with plans with the theater to try to fund it and take his show on the road. And I don't know if that will work. There have been some individuals, CJ has found some individuals who have done it. He's been talking to them about it. But that may be something that is a way of making a little bit of money, where the theaters have their content that they're needing, and CJ's able to show a movie and get it out there. It's kind of revolutionary, but I think in a day when 500,000 views does not necessarily fund the next project, it may be something that is worth trying.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's going to be interesting to see, because I mean, right now, I talked to indie filmmakers, and actually filmmakers in general, on streaming, they're not making any money. They're making pennies on the dollar.
Yeah,
and like, also too, when it comes to physical media, DVDs, people are not buying them anymore. Like it's only like weirdos like me who like physical media who are still buying them. So there's really no way for them to recoup, the money that they put out. Unless, like an idea where theaters will start, allowing them to show their films.
Exactly. And I mean, we bandied around the idea of starting your own YouTube channel. CJ, start your own YouTube channel. Well, all he can offer is his movie. He's got 1, 2, 3. And after they buy it, why are they checking in anymore? So, or when they... is he going to charge them each time they do it? So, it doesn't make any sense at this point. So, I think we're still in kind of a phase where things are adjusting, and we're going to wait for the dust to settle, and we're going to be trying with technology. Everything changes every couple of years. There's no stability anymore.
Exactly. I mean, I made this hypothesis. So I don't know if it's true, but I don't think streaming is going to last. I mean, I don't, for the long haul. I hear people say that this is the new wave of the future. This is the wave. This is the new normal. I don't think so. I think we as human beings, we like the experience. Yes, we like to maybe sit at home and watch something, but we like the experience. We like the experience of the theater, as well as we like the experience of like the video store. The video store is a completely different experience than going on to a on your TV and just, you got hundreds of thousands of movies to choose from. You know what I mean? It's at that point, everything's just available, and like, if everything is available, I mean, it's like being a guy and you can have sex with any woman. Right. Does that make? It doesn't make sex. It makes sex less important to you.
Right. Right. No, I agree wholeheartedly. Um, I do believe that there's a short life for this, but um, they're going to have to come up with, the streaming services are going to have to come up with a way of rewarding successful independent filmmakers. And maybe they do. Maybe there's a point where when they hit 3 million, then all of a sudden they start paying them. I don't know. I don't know what that is, but when I talk to CJ, he says it's all very nebulous. He has no idea what the structure is set up to do. At what point he starts getting some money. He gets a check every month, but he doesn't know when he would start getting more. And he's got probably 10, 15 different streaming services that he's got different movies on, and things are running continually, but it's sure not going to fund his next movie. So,
yeah.
We'll I think his plan for the summer, this next summer, I think he's probably going to finish Sherlock, have everything ready to go by November, December, I think is what he's shooting for. So he's probably looking at going on this tour next spring and summer. That's probably what he's looking at. And we'll come away from that and see if it's something that's doable.
I'm excited for it. Listen, especially if you guys come on the East Coast, I will definitely, I would definitely check it out on the tour.
And now, where are you?
In Maryland.
You're in Maryland, near DC.
Baltimore. So yeah.
Oh, Baltimore.
45 minutes. 45 minutes from DC.
Okay. So you are a big city guy, though. You are Baltimore.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm close.
Okay.
But one thing I love about Baltimore is, I love about this part of the country is you're 45 minutes away from everywhere. You're 45 minutes from Delaware. You're 45 minutes from Philadelphia. 45 minutes from DC. You're 45 minutes from parts of Virginia and Pennsylvania. Like it's crazy.
How far are you from New York City?
New York City, I believe it's 3 hours.
3 hours. Oh my gosh. 3 hours. When I was in this movie and drove down to where we shot, I drove 3 hours, 3 hours and 20 minutes to get down to the site. That's how far I was from the site. 3 hours is nothing. Yeah, you're right in the middle of whatever you want. You're in a great location.
You're 2 hours from New Jersey. I mean, it's an amazing place. Like, it's an amazing place to live. And anybody, by the way, I mean, I'm not saying Maryland, but listen, but if you want to do if you wanted somewhere where you can literally see 6 different states in a couple hours,
right?
Like Maryland, Pennsylvania, Jersey, DC, Virginia is definitely the spot.
Yeah, and I will tell you, in Texas, you can drive for 16 hours and still be in Texas.
Still be in Texas, yes.
Now, it feels like a different state. You've got all these different areas of Texas, but it's still, it's big. It takes a while.
So I've been to several places in Texas. I've been to Plano. I've been to
okay.
Dallas.
I've got a sister in Plano.
Yeah, I was in Dallas, Killeen, Austin, Houston, but I haven't done. I've also done Fort Worth, but I have not done San Antonio, and I want to do.
Cool city. It's a cool city. Did you say Killeen?
Yes, Killeen.
Okay, where Fort Hood is? Were you visiting Fort Hood,
yes.
or what was
yes,
that?
Yes, I actually had a friend who was stationed at Fort Hood.
Okay.
And, yep, I went to visit, and then that's how I got Austin and Dallas and all that stuff mixed in, and it was a blast.
Very cool. Very cool. So, yeah, that was a trip. That was a trip. That's very interesting.
All right. So, Les, where can everyone find you on social media?
So, my Facebook is Les Best, LESBEST. I do have an IMDb, which is also Les Best, and that shows some of my movies. I do have some movies that are out there streaming, but I'll tell you, and that's really, I'm not a huge, shame on me. I'm not a huge social media presence, but I, have about, how many friends do I have? I think I've got about 1,500 friends. So I do have a bunch of friends, and anybody wants to say hey, they're certainly certainly welcome to.
Well, I'll be seeing your friend request too.
Absolutely,
I'll
Travis.
definitely seeing your friend.
Yeah,
Listen,
I would love that. That would be great. And next time I'm going through Baltimore, I'll check you out.
yes. Stay safe though. It's a dangerous place. It's a dangerous
Well,
place. But yes. But there's
I
some
think that's
nice
true with a lot of
spots in Baltimore.
places.
Yes.
My wife and I, we travel around. We went to Chicago. It was amazing. There are a lot of places, and I think the news reports always try to make things worse than they are. I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm not saying we don't have some trouble in some of our bigger cities, but it's like the news builds up so much negativity. It gets tiresome.
Yeah. Now, Detroit, Michigan is a scary place. Detroit, Michigan is definitely the scariest place I've been in. And I've been all throughout this country, and Detroit, Michigan is just, you just feel unsafe. You just feel unsafe the whole entire time.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. I remember being in Michigan, and I know you're probably running out of time, but I remember being in Michigan in 78, 77, when it was at the height of, Ford Motor Company and Ypsilanti and all that area. I mean, it was just a thriving city, and then everything shuts down and no jobs and just
Nothing.
awful. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
it was, yeah, it was scary.
it's
Houston
a horror.
It's
Go
a
ahead.
scary place too. Houston,
Yeah,
Texas is a scary place too.
It can be. I will tell you, I've been in Houston a lot. The scariest thing about Houston for me is the traffic, but I never had any problems. But I'll tell you, I'm waiting for. Are there any horror movies that have come out about Detroit?
About Detroit, so there was one a couple of years ago that was called Barbarian. It was an indie horror movie that actually got a lot of. It was number one in the box office.
Barbarian.
Yes, and it kind of just shines a light on what Detroit is, and how run down. Because like I mean, listen, I've been to bad countries in the world where I'm like, ugh, I feel unsafe. But like I'm talking about in this country, like Baltimore, I mean, maybe it's because I've been here for so long, I don't really notice it.
Right.
But I won't say I notice it, but I don't feel unsafe.
Right. Right.
But Detroit, and there was another place that was called Manchester, New Hampshire. I don't know if you've ever been there.
No. Is that dangerous?
It wasn't dangerous. It was just scary. Like it was like I never saw poverty on a level like that in this country. I've seen like stuff like that in a third world country, but I was like, oh, where am I?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, because I was on my way to Maine, which Maine is millionaires and billionaires, and I never heard anything. I never met anybody who from New Hampshire. I never heard somebody say anything about New Hampshire. I know it's a super liberal state, but I did not know that it was just so impoverished. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that we do, we learn how to protect ourselves wherever we live, so that it's not as dangerous. But yeah, that's crazy to think about. I'm going to check that out. And I did want to say, we do have you seen our trailer for Sherlock Holmes Mayor of the Night, the teaser trailer? Okay.
I have. It looks amazing.
So that's on YouTube. If you want to, if your audience members want to see kind of an idea, these are actual scenes. It's a teaser trailer, but it is not something that was shot. Well, let's just shoot all of this stuff and throw it in a teaser trailer. It was scenes from the actual movie, and it was scored by Antonio Grandetti, who is going to score
nice.
the movie. wonderful, wonderful musician from Canada who works with Disney. Just an incredible artist, and he put all that together. And I would encourage you to see it. It will give you an idea of what the movie is, some of the highs and lows of it.
And guess what, everyone? Go down to the description box. The link to the trailer is right down there. Please
is it?
And view it, and definitely check it out and give them some support.
Yeah, please.
Fun, man.
Travis,
class.
Yeah, you
are
amazing. Yeah, I would love to have another talk with you on the air or off. Yeah, you're great. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you. And by the way, I'm actually doing this with a stomach virus right away, and I'm knocking this interview out with a stomach virus. This is a champ. I'm doing it like a champ.
Yeah, you are. I don't. If this is what you are with a stomach virus, it'd be amazing to talk to you without anything. That's great. That's
I've had guests because I've had guests that cancel me. They're like, "Oh, I got a sore throat and this and that." I'm like, "Okay, I understand," but like me, I'm a perfectionist. I work through pains, illness, this and that, because this is what I have to do. And shining a spotlight on indie horror, that's my job.
Well, my hat's off to you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
You too, my friend. You too. Everybody, thank you for coming to the Horror Realm. I'm Travis Bruce, and that's Les Best. We'll see you next time. Take care.